It's funny, like with AI coming out, there was obvious concerns. It's almost like film photography. There is the digital photography, but people tend to love that crafted experience that you get from film photography. And I think with art made by people, it's the same thing. Like, yeah, there's the AI art. Yeah, it's a shortcut, but people want that human story, that human element in space. Hello, everyone. My name is Kervin Brissot, and I am an artist and illustrator based here in New York City. I've been working in the industry for about, I would say, 15 or so years now, specializing specifically in graphic illustration and character illustration. And in the last few years, I started my own company, Brissot Inc., where I work as a creative entrepreneur, dabbling in a variety of different genres, but the focus still staying within the illustration space. Anyone who's adopted anime at an early age went through a phase where they're like, I need to stop watching this. Because there was a stigma attached to it at one point, depending on who you were hanging out with, who you were talking to. So I definitely went through a phase, like years, where I wasn't keeping up. But it's definitely made its way back, for sure. I do consider myself a gamer. Admittedly, since becoming a dad, that has dwindled quite a bit. The games I love to play, man, there's the Final Fantasies, there's the Street Fighters. Those are kind of my main two genres, RPGs and fighting games. I customize my own arcade sticks. You want to know a top tip, which kind of worked out for me in terms of being able to watch it more? My wife got into it. She was really in the camp of why are you watching this? This is for kids. And then I think, what was the turning point? Oh, she watched Attack on Titan with me, the first season. And she was like, yo, this is really good. And then Demon Slayer. And then she bought the manga because she didn't want to wait to find out why. So she has the whole manga collection.
Holy shit, dude, that's awesome.
And read that ish from start to finish, finished it in a matter of weeks. So it was a very interesting project in that when it came to figuring out a way for the audience to instantly recognize potentially my style, since if you notice with our current design, the characters really lean heavily into the aesthetic of the world that I built for myself called Brutizu. So the skin tones are quite striking and different, and the overall color tone, if you will, is also quite pared back as well, admittedly, which is very sort of characteristic of the kind of stuff I do for my own original characters. Outside of the work, we decided to make this a kind of multimedia experience, so we developed some cool stickers for it, and a DJ mix, finding some tracks that I felt kind of fit the vibe of what we were trying to create, kind of unlocked something in my mind that I was never really able to do for a client before. It was really, really fun to kind of create a project that was truly 360 in terms of the mediums that we were tackling.